Welcome to Getting Defensive Weekend Prime presented by Gridiron Ratings. The intro gets me too excited, Gary. I'm not.
Yeah, it does. It's like boom at the end. I like that.
You don't even know how to react. I'm
Yeah.
J.J. Wenner, and welcome to our free agency kickoff. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into the most recent dime drop, and joining me is the founder of. No, joining me tonight. This is terrible.
No,
I
that's all
am
right.
messing up.
No, that's all right. Just
All
roll
right.
with it, dog. You're good.
I'm good. I am good. With me tonight is the author of the Dime Drop, Gridiron Ratings, senior IDP analyst, Gary Van Dyke. Gary, how are you doing out there in space?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm actually just excited to get back on getting defensive with you tonight. You and Jeff been tearing up those rookies a couple Thursdays in a row, and I don't have a huge amount of input to put on them, but so I was excited to hear you guys just kind of just chime, man. It was great stuff. So if you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you do. Go to the YouTube, Spotify, whichever, and check us out. Check them out.
I had a great time learning about the rookies from our founder,
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's just jump right into this. I read your article today.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what you said, but I need a little bit more info. All right.
All right.
So I want to kick off with the Dallas safety position. Now, J-Ron Curse was a breakout last year.
Mm-hmm.
He posted 101 total tackles, almost equaling his career stats up until that point. But now he's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Does he get re-signed into this position?
Man, it's going to be tough. They've got a huge mess when it comes to their cap in Dallas. They've got to deal with Cooper. They might as well deal with Zeke, considering his performances. But there's a lot of cap issues there for them, and they have a lot of free agents. They have Randy Gregory. They have Malik Hooker, KZ. I believe they have a couple more defensive linemen they're on their free agent, that they would have to deal with. So, I mean, I'm thinking the odds at best are 50-50 right now. Of course, they'd like to, hold on to him, I'm sure, but he's definitely earned a payday somewhere else. I mean, this dude's been unknown basically with his years in Minnesota as a backup. He did play with the Lions last year, and he actually got some playing time over some the other safeties that we would have thought would have outplayed him. So he got enough playing time that it put it apparently on Dan Quinn's radar, and he basically just took over. And how do I put it in the article? He recaptured former glory of that particular safety position. It's something that Neil used to play for Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Well, we know Dallas moved Neil to the weak side weak side linebacker, and then we're sitting there looking at which nobody knew. Curse was not on anybody's radar to be what he was this year. Him and Jalen Thomas have to be the biggest two secrets that came out of IDP this past year at the safety position.
Yep.
But either way, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep him necessarily, because I think he's earned a payday from somewhere else, because there are plenty of teams that could use what he did this year and did so well, graded out, that they could, somebody's going to give him a nice little payday, even if it's a 1-year deal. And I just don't think Dallas is going to be able to do it. If he's there, that's great, because you got another top 15, top 10 option again. That position is what that role within the scheme. That's why they made the article. It's talking just as much about the players as it is the position, and that role and that defense, which we seen Keanu. I'll just call him Neil. We've seen what he did with it in 2016 and 2017 before he became so banged up. And then, Dan Quinn goes clear back to Seattle when you had Earl Thomas and Chandler Jones, I believe, or no, not Chandler, Chancellor. Those were two great options back in 2013, 14, and 15. With Seattle, they were always top options when it come to IDP. So this isn't surprising. You have what Dan Quinn does with this position in Seattle, carried over with him in Atlanta. It's just that it kind of got faded away in 2018, 2019 as Atlanta tried to plug and play people that just weren't getting it done. Lo and behold, Curse comes into Dallas, plays that role. He's over there by opposite side of Diggs a lot from what I've seen. That probably helped him a little bit because either way, he definitely solidified the role again. So I would think Dallas would definitely want to keep him. He was the highest, second, I believe, highest, maybe top tackler on when it comes to combined tackles. I think he actually might have been. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but he was one of the top performers for sure. If they could keep him, great. If not, if that position is just cherry when it comes to production. So whoever might come into that would be just an option off the top for somebody to go after a top 10 guy.
So we are going to monitor the free agent market and see who ends up there. Now, as you said, Dallas is in a rough position. On offense, they're pretty much set, but they have a lot of money spent. They're 21 million over the cap according to OTC. Lots of free agents. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough for them to sign a lot of these guys.
Yeah. Well,
maybe they can get somebody to sign a under market deal. I don't know if that's going to be Curse, but keep an eye out for whoever ends up signing there and who can man that position, because that is going to be a fantasy starter.
And some people might be just keep an eye on KZ and Hooker, and of course last year's darling Donovan Wilson. He was, but he was. This is the kind of projection we were expecting out of him. We thought maybe Wilson would get this kind of the gig in the scheme, I guess you could say, but he didn't. So it was Curse. But he
didn't shine gold. He was more of a mellow yellow.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if it was up to me, if I was in Dallas, I would want to keep Randy Gregory, if I kept any of those defensive guys whatsoever, at a guy that deserves to get paid. So the rest of them, I mean, I could see him letting them walk and them drafting, putting Donovan Wilson back into a role. It's just really a big situation, and this is why it made my actual top three and an important free agency actions that's going on right now.
All right. Well, next up, we go to Dan Quinn's former home, Atlanta. Now, Foye Oluokun and Deion Jones, they posted a combined, I had to check this twice, 329 total tackles last year. Now, the only player to average more tackles per game than Oluokun since 2000 is Zach Thomas, who posted 162 tackles in 14 games in 2005. So understand, Foye posted like literally one of the best years ever. Now, was this a fluke?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, him and Deion Jones for the last 2 years have just been a dominant force when it comes to IDP and looking at linebackers. They both have been just for 2 years straight, and that doesn't happen very often. This year we did have Brooks and we did have Wagner do it, but they haven't done it 2 years in a row, and it hadn't been done by any sets that I know of for 2 years in a row for some time. Don't quote me on that, but this is off the top of my head. But either way, doing it 2 years in a row, especially with these guys just coming into both years, they were on the radar for everybody to go after. It's a great combination. Now, when you think about the state of Atlanta, offensive struggles. The team around Okalune and Jones for the last 2 years have been mediocre, other than Grady Jarrett. Sure, we've had some IDP producers on there, but I mean, I'm talking talent. So that's left a lot on the plate for Jones and Oluokun, Foye, a lot. So it's not, he absorbed it this year. He just absorbed it. So it's not shocking. I mean, it's of course it's a record breaker probably or close to it or whatever the situation is. It's a great deal, but it's not surprising. I mean, it was kind of set up from the year before, and it's that position. It's those two positions right now that we need to look at, because not only is Olakun a free agent, but Deion Jones is under question. He had a terrible year last year. His 34, I think it was a 34 PFF grade. What that's I said poor. That's all I got to say. And he had a down year. They've got an out in his contract, and his money is getting ready to really get a little jump in his contract that he signed a while back. So let's think about Atlanta. Do they really want to continue to use him if he's not working right now for him? He is starter caliber somewhere. He will get picked up. He will start again somewhere else if Atlanta lets him go or trades him or such. But is it worth it to Atlanta right now to pay him that kind of money, especially when they got third year guy Michael Walker, I believe it is. He had a mini little breakout last year during a little bit of injuries. You got to remember that about Okaloon and Jones too. I believe at least Okaloon missed a game, maybe Jones. So Walker even absorbed some of that production when he was playing in place of them. So you're talking about the combined tackles between those two guys, not even including him. And they're looking exactly the same way. The team's looking exactly the same way. But what I loved about this and why this made the top three for me is because we got Walker coming into play. If they let Jones or don't let Jones walk, don't sign Okaloon. Okaloon is going to go somewhere. He's going to start. He just proved for the last basically 4 years of his career that he is a smart Yale grad that used to play safety, and he's not afraid to get dirty when it comes down to it. He knows how to run a defense. Deion Jones, same thing. He's been a top option for us. He still will probably go into next year as a top option for everybody, even if he ain't in Atlanta just by his name. But he had a poor year, and he may not be there. So that's why this has made the list. I got 3 players that I'm looking at, plus any free agents, anybody they draft, and it's all based on who is going to be playing those 2 positions in Atlanta.
Yeah, you mentioned that Deion Jones ranked so poorly according to PFF. Foy wasn't that too much better.
Yeah.
Deion Jones finished 81st among eligible guys who met the snap minimum.
We can look at it this way.
Olakun was only 67th.
Yeah. Well, but still, it's not. I know from seeing a lot of grades from linebackers, that's not that bad. That's solid, serviceable numbers there, I think. But either way, production by default still works. And we see how the NFL, look at the contract Eric Wilson got last year with Philadelphia. And I thought that was asinine, to tell you the truth, because he was so poor when he was producing the year before with Minnesota. But again, I think that Okaloon right now, or Foye, Jones, I don't think they're going to have any trouble catching on somewhere else. If they move on from Atlanta, sure, they're probably going to go down my board a little bit, depending where they might land or sign. But I like this whole. This is something I'm on the edge of my seat to see how it plays out. So, and it's got a lot of importance to it.
So before we hit the final one, I wanted to talk about with you. For the most part, Gary, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. My view of your philosophy. You look a lot more at free agency than you do rookies.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's rookies has never been my forte, folks. It's always been free agency. I have lived my IDP life for the last couple of decades feeding off of free agency and trading away my draft picks 99% of the time. So it's just how I roll. I just trust them. It's just like last year as an example. We had Nick Bolton and Michael Parsons in the top 2 or top 100 of total production and balanced formats, at least most balanced formats. And there's 2 rookies, but we had something, I think I had it in my article. I think I had 8 or 10 free agents that were in the top 10 or top 100. I apologize. Top 100 of IDP production. Now, top 100 IDP production is going to cover most standard leagues, 12 team, 13 or 14, even up to 16. So I mean,
except the deepest leagues with
right,
yeah.
right. It's very significant. It's very significant. So that's just something that I've done in the past. I've wrote and had a tracker that I've did since 2013. I have not updated this year, but considering there was only 2 in the top 64, which Bolton and Parsons both happened to make in the top 64, the percentage of really important rookies is only 3.8 out of every percent of every rookie that's ever been drafted since 2013 has made an impact in the top 64 of the end of the year stats. I got tired of chasing it. That's why I haven't updated it yet. It's like, okay, I can't hound this out no more. So I don't trust rookies. They're a luxury. They work out, they work out.
So it seems to me, I mean, coming from the dirty O side, a lot like the tight end position. Sure, maybe the top 1 or 2 tight ends you draft in a rookie draft.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, you pretty much should let somebody else draft, let them get disappointed in those first 2 years. They don't do anything and then they drop them and then you pick them up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? When they're a free agent or.
Yeah. I don't see what the difference between drafting a rookie his first year or his second year. I don't see what the difference is, except for the fact that, well, I've got to see what he could do before I've made any type of investment in him. That betters the odds that I'm going to be successful. In my opinion, it's worked.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, right? And when we're talking to you in the off season, we are looking for any edge that you can get in your IDP leagues. Mm-hmm. So when you see everybody else starting to drafting the second tier IDP players, don't pause, wait, think about it, and maybe reach for another running back or a wide receiver or somebody on offense who might have a chance of paying off a lot more quickly for you.
At the very least, folks, give free agency the same respect that you give any rookie hype or rookie off-season reports or rookie drafting. Just give it the same and look at it from that aspect, and you might actually open your mind a little bit and see, I'm tired of risking. I want to win, and I want to win now, and I want to win all the damn time. Why should I wait to see if a rookie works out? But we'll roll on here.
Man, I agree with you, although I sometimes catch rookie fever.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard not to.
It's catchy. Maybe I'll wear a mask. Maybe I'll start wearing a mask.
We need to work on a vaccine for that.
There ain't no vaccine, baby. There ain't no vaccine. All right, last up. Green Bay. Now, we're going to be looking at a lot of change, I think, in Green Bay on the offensive side. However, Titletown has always had a very good inside linebacker position, right? Yes. We've seen that for years. Blake Martinez was manning that for the past few years before he left. Free agent
Hawk before him.
No, there you go. Devondre Campbell came in last year. Nobody really thought much of the signing. Showed up. Now he's a free agent. So do you see Campbell coming back? And do you think this is just going to be a continuation? The next person who steps in, are they going to produce in the same way?
Well, I think it's 50-50 pretty much that it's a chance. I know they'd like to have him back. He's came in, he solidified the position again after a rough 2020, and I think 2019 too was kind of rough. I mean, coming into this year, everybody thought I was going to agree the second-year guy, Chris Barnes, because he just had the momentum. So that's why that Campbell signing came in under the radar, on top of the fact that he got phased out in Arizona right after he got signed, because of them drafting Isaiah Simmons, which they claim they would have never dreamed that they would have fell to him in that first round pick of theirs. So, I got a brain fart there.
Talking about Devondre Campbell, is he gonna
Yeah.
sign? Is he gonna be putting
Well,
up the same types of numbers?
here's how I'm looking at Devontae Campbell. Whether or not he signs, he's still, again, he's one of those guys. He's earned a payday. He's proved the last 2 years with Arizona was kind of a fluke that he didn't get to produce. And he graded out well, if I remember right. So he's going to have a job somewhere. It's just the position that he's maintaining or solidified this past year, again, like it had Blake Martinez or AJ Hawk in it. That's the position that we want to find out. We want to hover over that position, because if they sign a decent name off the, or I can't even say a decent name because they're kind of cheap. They didn't pay Blake Martinez again. I don't know. It's a question that I can't figure out. So I'm going to stick with 50-50 and just plan on him going and me hopefully finding that under the radar guy that they sign or draft. That's not out of the question either.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you could do worse than Campbell. I mean, Campbell has been productive. He's been healthy. I mean, he's played in 16 games every season.
Yeah.
I mean,
he did fine in Atlanta. He did fine. He got better in Atlanta. And of course, he's never been perfect, but and he had momentum when Arizona signed him to play next to Hicks. Everybody was excited about it. Then, Isaiah Simmons happened for whatever reason right after they signed Campbell. So that just kind of put the whole stigma on him coming into this year when he signed with Green Bay, that he just wasn't going to be the guy, that he was probably going to be the second guy, which the second linebacker, inside linebacker, and that usually averages like 35% of the snaps a game. So that's why Chris Barnes didn't work out, because he wasn't the first main linebacker. And that's just notorious in Green Bay as a producer when they have the right guy in there.
So we've looked at Dallas. We've talked about Atlanta. We hit on Green Bay. Who are the other situations, the other players that you're keeping an eye on?
Now, I'm just going to talk real quick about Jesse Bates, I guess, and get him kind of out of the way, because he came up short out of this list, and he actually came up shorter than the two other guys that I'll mention real quick too. But, Bates, Cincinnati, from what I understand, has the money. I don't know why they would let him walk. I don't know. Everybody was in question. Well, why didn't they sign him last year when he had or give him his 5th-year option or an extension, whichever it was? And he was a little salty about it coming into this year. And his production during the year was down, but notoriously, same thing. That position had Sean Williams in it before Bates. And it was productive then, even under different defensive coordinators. It's just a nice, productive position that if you have the right guy in, he should be fine. And Bates was still serviceable. He just hadn't had the year that he had previously for a couple of seasons. And it might be just because Cincinnati's defense as a total just got so much better. So he didn't get that extra opportunity to make all those combined tackles that he used to. Whatever it was, I think that Bates will end up be back here. So he kind of falls into, well, at this point would be the 6th spot right outside the top 5 to wonder about. Because I think he's going to end up back in Cincinnati, and that eliminates the option for another player somewhere else, free agent, to step into the role that got that close to being a top 3.
All right. So Jesse Bates, road to redemption. Paving it for us. Anybody else you want to talk about tonight?
Might as well talk about Kaiser White for a minute. The guy actually is probably been the best thing to happen for the Chargers this last couple of seasons. At least he's been healthy. At least he's been working and trying to get better
on defense.
On defense. Okay. What I say on offense?
No, you just said the best thing to happen. Justin Herbert happened.
Right.
That's a little bit better.
Okay, let's even clarify that even better and say that's the best thing that's happened to the linebackers. The linebackers have been really going through a lot of struggles, even with Kyle Murray, Drew Tranquil getting hurt, just injuries. It's like an injury plague down there year in, year out. I believe they had some this year, but Kyle Murray did not work out in his second year. He actually got phased out to the third inside linebacker. Drew Tranquil was out there with Kaiser White. Tranquil, I think, also got hurt early again in the season, if I remember right. But either way, Kaiser White was the guy that emerged as their main guy by, I believe, halfway through the season. He's a free agent. Yeah, it's 50-50. The reason he didn't make the top 10 is not because I don't think Kaiser White would be a good player somewhere else, because if he gets his opportunity, he can be productive. It might be a little bit of IDP productive by default, but we'll have to see where he lands first. But at the same time, the role, I don't like the role enough to put him in the top 3 situation. Like I said, it's like they got this little bug that just keeps circulating inside that inside linebacker unit each season, and with injuries and such. And then it's not necessary. Kaiser White's the first guy that's still gotten a decent chunk of snaps, and it just happened. I don't trust how the Chargers will manage that position. Free agency, rookie draft, whatever. I don't like how it could end up. I want to see it work out. I want to see a full-time guy from week 1 to week 17 and getting 90 plus snaps, and hopefully seeing a second guy getting 80-85% of the snaps and starting every game, or at least 90% of the games. We just need a little bit. That's why they came up short for me. I got Hussein Reddick. He basically, I can sum him up. I don't think that if Carolina, if they don't sign him, I don't think there's anybody that could replace him in his role the way that he made that role produce. Being up as a specialty edge rusher, but being listed as a strong side linebacker. I've been looking at the snap counts. They still had plenty of defensive linemen playing with Burns and such. So I know he got plenty of snaps as an edge rusher, but sometimes I even seen it was quoted. I didn't actually get to see all the film, or every game, but they actually said that Burns and Riddick were lined up next to each other rushing. So, there would be another defensive end on the other side. So I just don't, what it boils down to me is he's a specialty hybrid edge rushing linebacker that technically was their strong side linebacker. And I just don't think there's anybody else out there, necessarily a free agent or a rookie, that they're going to get this year that will make that position as good as it was with Riddick in it. So they need to re-sign Riddick. But hey, we had teams like Baltimore that actually talked to Riddick before the season last year, and they surely could stand some help up there. And they love the blitz. There might be some teams ready to pay Riddick, and we'll see if Panthers step up. They gave him a 1-year deal last year. It wasn't bad, but I think he could have got more somewhere. So he likes that coach. It's his college coach. He played this role for his college coach, the same dude, just like he did back in the day. That's what he's exactly done. So this is why I'm saying I don't think that the position is any good coming this year unless Riddick's in it. That's why he didn't make my top 3, but he is top 5.
That's fair. Do you see him being able to step in anywhere else if he does leave?
Oh, I think easily? So. Oh, I think so. Yeah. And I think a very hot commodity. I think he could actually, what do you have, 11 sacks this year? I think that actually was a little bit down, but considering his role, when his combined tackles that he did manage, I think
68 tackles is nothing to sneeze at.
Not when you're technically an edge rusher. Right. There's only so many TJ Watt prototypes out there. We got 10, maybe 12, and that's still pushing it at that outside linebacker position. But Hassan Reddick is right up there. He's still fairly young, and he's I think a lot of it last year, because when he was released by Arizona, he wasn't picked up right away, or he was shopping himself around, however you want to look at it. Um, um, I I'm surprised he didn't get paid more, but I think that maybe his final season with Seattle, when he had ungodly amount of sacks, I think he had 5 in one contest, which kind of blew up his sack stats if you have 5 in one game. So maybe other teams were a little hesitant to actually pay him a lot, thinking, well, was this the fluke? Because it was basically his breakout season after I said Seattle. Then
Arizona.
I met Arizona. I believe the 5 sacks came against Arizona on Russell Wilson the second time they played that season. That's what I was thinking. Apologies. Either way, Arizona would, you know, coming from Arizona, I think that a lot of people was like, well, he just got to break out. It's his last year. Arizona didn't re-sign him for whatever reason. So what's going on? Maybe people were just hesitant. I know I wasn't. As soon as he signed, I figured he would be pretty damn good. Was he a top IDP edge rusher? No, he was not. But he was definitely up there and should have been in somebody's lineup in a league each week.
Fair enough. I'm actually trying to find. I was just looking through to see who he had the big game against that year. Let's see. Game
right.
logs 2020. Sack totals. 5 sacks against the Giants.
Okay. All right.
Close.
Yeah.
If you had nailed that, I would have sung your praises from the rafters. Major Tom out there floating around.
Hey, it's all clutter in here. It all becomes a haze after a while.
Well, listen, when you've lived as many falls as you have, it's a lot of knowledge that gets sucked up into that brain.
Yep. Barking at the moon.
All right, Ozzy. Well, it is time for final thoughts. You can check out Gary Van Dyke at the IDP Tipster on Twitter. Any final thoughts for the listeners out there?
The only thing I want to say is, don't take me wrong. I don't hate rookies. Used to get a lot of hate mail back in the day over that. So just know that I respect rookies. Shoot, I even called Ernest Jones as a breakout for a rookie last year.
You did.
And they're a luxury. I'll put them on my roster if the occasion comes up and it didn't cost me anything, and I'll let them sit at the end of the thing and see if it happens or not.
And of course, as with everything, this advice is league dependent. If you are in a super deep dynasty league, yes, you draft rookie IDP guys and you stash them on your taxi squad, right? But the shorter your benches get, right? The shorter your benches get, the more that Gary leans towards starting the veteran players, only because of the ROI.
And that's I mean, you've been in one of my leagues. You're going to be in another one of my leagues now. You're in the flagship IDP incentive. And I like to keep those benches a little shallow in those leagues. I like full complement of starters on defense and offense. And I like a balanced scoring format, not only between the IDP, but the offense and the IDP. And at the same time, keep it a shorter bench. So that makes guys that want to play fantasy football work the waiver wire. And 99% of the time, and that's why it's named the IDP incentive that you'll be joining, 99% of the time, it's that everybody's working the defense off the waiver wire, because defense, we all know, is on the waiver wire, but it's hard to find a replacement wide receiver in most formats that's really going to be a tier 1 or tier 2 dude. You're getting these 2 tier 4 and tier 3 guys. Yeah, sure, they're there, but you can actually get viable starters each week in IDP off waiver wires in most standard leagues.
You absolutely can. You have to work the waiver wire in IDP leagues. And I do love the short benches because it really makes you stay on top of it on a week-to-week basis.
Yep.
If you like drafting a team and then sleeping the rest of the year, do not join one of these leagues because you will not do well. You won't do well. That's just the way it goes. Well, as I said, you can find Gary at the IDP on Tipster. I'm at JJ Wenner on Twitter. Thank you, Gary, for joining me tonight.
Hey, man.
I'm in the middle of building a show, and our show goes up next week for my middle school. So I'm so excited, but I am burning the candle at both ends. So thank you for putting up with my
No problem. I'm going to miss you the next couple of weeks, I think.
Well, you'll get me back soon enough. Now, make sure everybody out there is tuning into Getting Defensive every week for your off-season IDP content, and check out Gridiron Ratings for the rest of our fantastic content. We're adding a lot of new people, so stay tuned.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We just, 10 in this last month have joined Gridiron Ratings. We are growing, folks.
Join now and grow with us. And remember, your path to the title starts with Gridiron Ratings. Have a great night and be safe.